But here we are, anyways, on the Dev Talk Show on November 21st, 2025, where I have this super zoomed in camera today, and I'm not 100% sure why. Uh, but here we are with kind of a short show because we're already close to 8 o'clock U.S. Eastern Time. Here with my co-host Rich Ross. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, Chris. Been a good week, busy week, but yeah, things are awesome. We
Yeah,
had a
yeah. Go ahead.
we had a good Wednesday night. We had a nice little turnout there for Philly.net, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's right. And we were working with the agent framework, which am I correct to say is the successor or evolution of things like semantic kernel? Is that correct to say that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's the next with integration of two things together, semantic kernel and something else called AutoGen. So, but yeah, it's essentially um, kind of where things will be heading. It's still preview, so um, definitely go check it out. It was a lot of fun. Maybe we could do something like that on the kind of show this off at some point here as well, because that'd be fun.
Yeah, I thought the quick starts were cool. I learned a lot, but it did leave me with a lot of questions, and so um, that would be good to dig into. So what we are going to dig into today,
Hmm.
and I suppose we should get moving pretty quick, is I want to let me make sure I can get these things going here just real quick. So what I want to do is show my screen. So this is .NET Conf, and obviously .NET Conf was last week, and this was the opening keynote per se, the session that's entitled, Welcome to .NET 10 and Visual Studio 2026, which all launched on the same day. I think it was Tuesday. Pretty sure.
Hmm.
This slide, or a variant of it, is part of .NET Conf every year that I recall. It's for a while. Um, some things have been added to it, like we've got Aspire in there near the bottom. Um, we've got GitHub Copilot here. But I feel like for years and years and years, when talking about what was once called .NET Core and now .NET, we would see the OSs listed, the tooling, other things. And this list of it's always this anything, build anything.
Hmm.
And so there'd be this list of things you could do. You could do desktop, you could do web. This is kind of a new one. You could do cloud. But for me, there was one piece that is always makes the list, but then I feel like is not necessarily concentrated on much for the week of .NET Conf.
Okay.
To be fair to .NET Conf this year, I did try going through the categories, and there is this talk here. I wasn't sure if we were going to get a some kind of, well, okay. So anyways, this is called Accelerating Your Godot Learning with an AI Guide. So that's pretty cool. But this is similar to what we were doing with GitHub Copilot. You're creating a test-driven development coach, and this is saying, well, it's like let's have GitHub Copilot be our companion to learn something. And in this case, I think the author said, well, what's something I really don't know that much about, and it's building games with the Godot engine. So here is a free and open source game engine that develops 2D and 3D games. It's pretty popular in terms of, especially with the indie crowd and the folks who maybe are like really, they want to get started, but they don't want to something that's really heavyweight, like say they want something lighter weight, let me put it that way, than like say Unity or Unreal. And Godot has its own scripting language, but it also supports coding in C#. So they even talk about it here. Keep your code. You can use GDScript, C#, C++, or they even have an extension support to say, hey, what else do you want to do? So,
Okay.
But there's another. So I think this is cool. But when I went through this playlist, and I really apologize if I've missed one because I was kind of scrolling through it. I was looking for the getting started, making games, maybe something for somebody who's totally unfamiliar with even how games work, What are your options if you're a .NET developer? And there's I know of a few.
Hmm.
You could use Godot engine. Unity is well known for having C# support for its scripting. That's a well known Unity thing. Unity, the Unity engine, which again for folks that may not know, started life started life a very long time ago. I mean, as being a game engine that said you build it once here and you can deploy it to consoles, you could deploy it to PCs, like we got you covered.
Right.
And Unity's had somewhat of an interesting existence its last maybe 15 years or more, where it kind of grew up, and you may have noticed or not a game now and then that puts the Unity logo up. Sometimes they're smaller games, sometimes they're surprisingly larger games. And I'm not going to get much out of here. Here we go. Yeah.
Mm.
But this engine had its own scripting language.
Right.
And then it also had some other languages. But the fact of the matter is the Unity community really settled on C#. Uh,
Yeah.
I haven't kept up with the Unity C# support in a little while. They originally took the Mono engine. And I don't know if they've transitioned to a .NET engine at this time. And maybe that's my bad for not figuring that out before we got to talking. But the main reason why I did not do that is that I wanted to introduce MonoGame. Um,
Okay.
so do you remember XNA?
I do, and this is what, 10 to 15 years ago?
Yeah, 2006, 2007, I would say. Um,
Oh wow, almost 20 years.
maybe we can find some look at you can still look up at this stuff. It's so cool. You can still download the redistributables. So the XNA toolset was first announced in 2004 at the GDC Game Developers Conference, and I would say that they didn't really get it out there until around 2007 or so. But what was fascinating about XNA was here was Microsoft. So there's an even more varied history than that sentence that says the XNA toolset was announced on March 24th, 2004. Um, when they announced XNA, what they kind of said to the world was a lot larger than just what I think it's known for.
Okay.
What it is known for is being a a this is what XNA is known for, even though it's known for being a C# framework that allowed you to build games for your desktop. And then the exciting part was when they announced support for the Xbox 360. Your retail Xbox 360, you could just the thing you had sitting under your television, you didn't have to have anything special. You didn't have to sign up with Microsoft. You didn't have to become a publisher. Anything that you normally is associated with how do I ship games for a console.
Right.
So that was exciting. Even if you just wanted to mess around, it was exciting to be able to see it on your TV from a console. Then they announced a store for the 360.
Okay.
And famously, a few games published on that store hit it big. And they got shares that we know are in the millions.
Hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, with the 360 kind of going away, the XNA store also kind of went with it. It's kind of a sad day. Windows Phone launched with XNA support. You could ship
Oh yeah.
games on the Windows Phone using this. So XNA was near and dear to many developers' hearts. And so what MonoGame is taking the inspiration of what XNA was, but making it work today and cross-platform. So we're not going to have time to dive into that, but this works on like your Linux box, for example. It's pretty cool. Um, what's even more interesting about XNA, and I think the best way is let's just go ahead and get an IDE going so we can see it. Um, is that
Here's what you're going to use for this. So
so
one Visual Studio, it looks like.
yeah, and this is going to be the interesting thing as we work with this because I'd like to. We're not going to get to do it today, but it is possible to build a complete game in about an hour, and that's impressive, right?
Hmm.
But I've got to do a little bit of setup because when I say build it in an hour, what I mean is like it could be demoed how to build it and quite in depth without a lot of like, well, let's just hand wave over this part. Like really,
Right.
really saying, okay, see this code, you kind of see what's going on and it does what you expect. So this happens to be Visual Studio 2022. There's no reason you couldn't use 2026. Quite frankly, this is a little bit more of like, we've only got a half an hour. I know this is going to work type frame thing.
Right.
There's no reason you can't use Visual Studio Code. There's no reason you can't use your favorite editor and .NET build. Like that all works fine. And that's what's really cool because I could also bring up Linux, which we will do, and the same stuff will work, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
um, you do have to install some stuff. And frankly, I think their documentation is pretty good. So if we go to the documentation hub, I'm not definitely going to get super involved here, but they talk about setting up Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. They even give you a little bit, hey, you want to use Visual Studio, you want to use Writer, you want to use Visual Studio Code. So and I'll admit it's pretty in depth. Um, so what I mean by that is like they really go through click by click, and I love that. I love that
Yeah.
because you never know what your audience is for sure. So once you've done that, which might be worth me getting a clean Windows install going on another machine and making a video showing it. I don't have a ton of videos on my personal YouTube channel, but some of the ones that have the most views are installing Unity from 12 years ago.
Right.
One of my most popular videos was like using CodePen to learn development. It was like a 10-minute video and it's got 20,000 views, right? So sometimes the getting started stuff that's really like, I mean, listen, I'm going to walk you through it holding your hand. You know nothing about this stuff. Because otherwise, what happens is people watch a creator who says, hey, just go to the website and install it. And then they get stuck
Yeah.
and it's
And
all
that's the
over,
worst
right? Yeah.
because you had that energy to go do this, and then you hit that wall. It's like, well, how do I get past
What
this
do I
wall?
do? Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to just do the classic file new project. And when you install MonoGame, what ends up happening is you get a series of templates. Okay, I was wondering, like, why didn't it do anything? There are a ton of really great templates to go through here. It's just not super important to dwell on all of them right now because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the MonoGame cross-platform desktop application. And what's really cool about this is that if you work in this project, it's set up so that I could like go fire up a Linux machine, bring the code over, rebuild it. You still got to install MonoGame over there, like it's not magic.
Sure,
Um,
it's a separate instance, right?
yeah, yeah. It's not like whereas .NET is really cool in that like you just install the .NET SDK and you're pretty much ready to go.
Hmm.
Not to I'm not trust me, I'm not trying to make MonoGame sound like it's complicated though. So I'm gonna say TDTS demo 1 just because all we're doing today is some super basics, which I hope isn't too frustrating for people. I mean, it's a short video, that's good,
Yeah.
but I think we can bring back my XNA demo. I mean, XNA is dear to me because it was the first thing I talked about as a speaker in the .NET world. And part of the reason is you may remember, I mean, you know, we had such great speakers at Philly.net, right? We had people who
Mhm.
came from around the country. We had experts in IIS, and I remember Entity Framework Code First being brand new, being
Oh yeah.
presented at Code Camp, right? Uh, we had I was humbled to speak in front of some of these people. And so, because nobody was talking about games and Windows Phone was brand new, I decided to say, hey, building your first game for Windows Phone with XNA. And then the thing was packed.
Yeah.
And it was packed with people that I go to Code Camp to see.
Sure.
So I was very intimidated. But, at the time, I remember Danny Diaz it was Danny Diaz. And I'm pretty sure it was Danny Diaz and Amanda Lang that were there in the room with me pretty sure about this, that
Hmm.
were super supportive, incredibly supportive. And I don't know that I would be where I am today doing this kind of content without their support. So um, we get this solution. And here's when I talk about XNA, why do I keep talking about XNA? Because I'm going to open up the game one CS file and take a look at these usings.
Oh no.
So what the team decided to do way back when MonoGame was a glimmer in someone's eye, the
Right.
idea was I loved XNA. I want to preserve, I think there should be a preservation of the work that's been done. So what better way to do that than to not change anything about the way it works, the interfaces, the object library, and even the name spacing. And a part of it was is they really wanted to sell XNA developers on the idea that you just open your project and it should build. Um, there were some early issues that have come a long way, and and I'm not going to care too much about those, but I'll kind of point them out as we go. So first thing I want to do is stop and see if you have any questions, because here's the startup. Here's what you get. You get a program CS file, a game one CS, and then this mysterious folder that says content.
Yeah.
And this is kind of how it goes. And I don't know if you just kind of want to sit back and see a little bit, or
Yeah. I'm super interested in this. I think this is something, there's some cool, I, yeah, I definitely
okay.
want to see where this goes.
All right.
Content file I guess, would be your images and things like that, right?
It's definitely uh basically yes,
Eventually.
you're right. So obviously the program CS is like the least exciting thing. It's just running a game. This very much feels like WinForms or something where it's like, look, I'm getting something going and it's going. And the reason why is because XNA comes with a built-in game class. This class is the entry point for most games. Most often, what this project is doing is it's deriving off of it and giving you a basic setup. There's nothing wrong with this setup. You can just go right to work, ignoring almost everything about game development. And
Hmm.
I would often talk to people about, I would say, let's talk about the four methods, except that it was easier to call them the four functions. So
Okay.
initialize, and you're going to see
Sure.
as I scroll by them, load content, update, and draw.
Okay. Right. Right.
These are the
Because
heart of the game. Yeah, go ahead.
because if the limited amount of experience I have with doing game development is you're basically painting a screen and then something happens and you paint the screen again. So it's this loop of just basically creating images essentially or creating things that result in images.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So what I loved about XNA and the reason why I think it was successful is whether you were a longtime game developer or not, the game class just spoke to you.
Yeah.
Like it just makes sense. You go like, okay, initialize. Even if you maybe don't put things in the exact right spot, it really supports you. So for example, add your initialization logic here. And if you think about it, you say, well, maybe this will be like the way the game starts. I mean, you could do that. It doesn't really matter. Um, load content is a method that it's going to call very early in life to take content that you tell it about. They call it the content pipeline, and they
Hmm.
get them into. You can get that content into instance variables or whatever you decide to build that you can now use the rest of your game.
Okay.
So in other words, they make it super easy to bring in things like sprites, images, audio, music. It's just super simple. Um, then what it does is it just starts calling update and draw. That's it. And it'll do it as fast as you can unless you tell it not to, which might sound weird. If you tell it to
Mm.
do like fixed time step and say, listen, I want to draw at 30 frames a second. So what games that are fixed time step will actually do is they will actually wait. If the computer is faster, it'll actually wait and say like, well, it hasn't been uh let's see, 30 frames a second. I think is
30 or
16.
so
I think it's
second.
16.7 milliseconds. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, then it's 33. Like those are
Okay.
the two numbers that I know pretty well. 16.7 might be 60, but I don't remember. And I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me and say, what kind of game
Right.
developer are you? Um, and so it'll actually wait. Now, I'm not doing that here, which I think is a good habit to get into. If you're going to be a game developer today, even as a hobbyist, just get in the habit of dealing with the range of systems your game may run on. Because in the modern world, if you're going to deploy somewhere, let's just say you're going to deploy on Steam, that's a PC platform.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's been following what's going on in the game world, the top games that people are playing are multi-platform games that are played everywhere. Fortnite, Call of Duty, Roblox, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, genuine almost always lead the way. I mean, not almost. They always lead the way in monthly engagement. Followed not too far behind by like games like NBA 2K, Madden, college football, WWE, Forza Horizon often sneaks onto that list, which is really cool.
Hmm.
Multiplayer games that people play anywhere are just leading the way. So you might as well get used to PC. And if you want to be a PC developer, you want your game to scale.
Right.
Maybe that's something too advanced to get into. Let's just deal with this. Let's deal with this. So if I do nothing more than run this, then we can kind of guess what's going to happen by looking at the draw method. It says graphic device clear. And even if you don't even know what that means, you can sort of guess, well, it's going to clear the screen and, oh, I guess it's going to clear it with this color. And sure enough, we have cornflower blue, the most famous color. This is the XNA color, frankly.
Yes.
It's infamous because the very first XNA template did this, and to this day, cornflower blue is associated with XNA. So it's just the history.
It's a nice sky background, right? You could put your landscape, your ground in front of it. You could put whatever's clouds you want in that sky.
Right. Yeah, and there's so much nostalgia to this, which is what's really cool.
Sure.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this image here. Okay, see this little guy?
Mm-hmm.
He was the star of my XNA show, where I basically showed people how to make a game very similar to Circus Atari, a game that was near and dear to my heart on the Atari 2600.
Okay.
We are getting to the point where when I did this in like the 2015 timeframe, no, Windows Phone was 2010. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was doing this in 2010. That a lot of people in the audience nodded their head, remembering the Atari 2600. And we are now at a point where, these whippersnappers have no idea what I'm talking about. And it just makes me feel so old. So what I'm going to do with that image is it's a file. It happens to be a ping file. I'm going to, just for simplicity, I'm going to drag it into the content folder. That's not really required, but I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And I'll show you why I do it in a second. So you can even see Visual Studio is very helpful. And if I just hover over it, it's like, hey, this is the thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the clown to my content pipeline, my content library. And the way you used to do that in XNA is there was the Visual Studio support was built in. The content pipeline manager was built in. It was all tooling in Visual Studio. Instead, This is separate. And there's a good reason why it's separate, because this is also meant to run outside Visual Studio. But there is integration. If you double click on this mysterious content.mcgcb file, and my main display on this machine is the other display, so I have to keep dragging stuff over.
Oh, back over, yeah.
You get what was the content pipeline editor reborn as its own separate app.
Okay.
And this is cool because when we go over to Linux, when I do because I'd like to do the Circus Atari demo from beginning to end as a show. I want to do it. I want to do it on a Linux desktop.
Yeah.
Just for fun. Like, look, wherever you want to go. So what do I have to do here? This is my project. Here's the content in my project. There's a bunch of things I can set. This isn't really that important right now. The most important thing is to right click here and to say, oops. See, I want to right click. I want to zoom in so we can see. I'm going to add an existing item. Why existing? Because this file already exists. I'm not creating something brand new. We'll maybe another time. So, and it automatically opens up the content folder you're in, and it's presenting. And so clown.ping is already here. I'm going to double click and zoom back out. And so here we go. You get some interesting things here. You can name it if you want to. I don't really have a lot to do. By default, it's going to understand, like, it's just going to call it clown.png. I can rename it if I want to, but I don't need to. It does. MonoGame and XNA did some really cool things for you. You could set a color key, and if you say color key true, then by default, with you doing nothing, the sprite renderer will not render that color pixels. And you don't have to do that if you use a ping file, because ping files already support transparency.
Okay.
But classic game development in 2D, we didn't have transparency in file formats back in our day when all we had were like wood burning computers. We had PCX was a popular format.
Sure.
JPEG became popular later. GIFs became popular pretty early on. Sorry, that's how old I am, is that us CompuServe folks call them GIFs. So, sorry. People get really offended nowadays.
They do.
So,
it's like Captain Spaces.
yeah, but it's just like, I don't know what to tell you, because that's what we said when we were on CompuServe, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So that support is there. Traditionally, game developers use this magenta color to be the transparency color. And the reason is because they just thought nobody's ever going to use this color in an image. Like, that's the real actual reason. So, okay, so I've added this content. Now, before I leave here, I need to build the content pipeline. I think that's the right term. So it's very easy to forget this step. It's easy to add your stuff, walk out of here, and then wonder why you're getting errors. So I'm just going to build it, and it's just going to say I built it, build succeeded. That's not telling me much. I'm going to close this. In here, there's some stuff, right? The Clown XNB is now set up for desktop, and for, so it's all set up for the different formats. You don't have to worry about that. And I don't say that. I'm not the type of person that, like, I like to figure out how things work.
Right.
When I say you don't have to worry about it, I really mean, like, it's just not a big deal. So
there's really nothing you can do. It's either you do the pipeline or you don't.
Well, so that's actually not. You can load files directly in MonoGame, but even the MonoGame people will say, like, look, you get a lot of great things out of the content pipeline. So you can load files directly, but it's just this isn't so hard. So how do I get going? Well, in this game class, I've got what I'm gonna do, and many people might see this as expedient, and it is, because it's already 8:17 here. Is I'm gonna create this in the XNA framework, has a texture 2D, which represents a 2D grid of basically pixels. They say texels, but that's the technical term. They're correct. And I'm gonna say, maybe it should more accurately be clown texture, but whatever. I'm just gonna create this as a game instance variable. While we're talking here, anybody who's watching me do this and saying, like, why are you shoving everything? Yes, of course, we're just doing this very quickly.
Right.
We can have wonderful talks about how to structure your game. So built into the game class is an instance of the content manager, and they give it to you as an instance of the game class called content. So in fact, it's already wants to do it. It's got a method built in called load. You say I'm loading a texture 2D, and I want clown, and you don't even have to include the extension. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's smart enough to figure that out. So this content pipeline is extensible, meaning that while they give you a bunch of cool stuff to load what's built into XNA, if you want to, you could use the content pipeline to load your own types of assets, and you provide it methods to take the format and load it into objects or something. So many people have written tutorials on how to, like, load your levels, load more complex data structures. Which is cool. So what are we going to do? All we're going to do is we're going to set, we're going to need actually, no, we don't even need that. We can be super, super basic here. The game class comes with a sprite batch. Sprite batch is a helper class. It's a helper class that they give you. Look, it's just gonna do exactly what I want here. It's a helper class that takes the place of rendering 2D images in a 3D world. One thing that has changed about game development from when I started is all games are inherently 3D now.
Yeah.
the main reason for that is so we take advantage of the GPUs that are in everybody's systems. Way back in the day, many games were not, and what you really did is you actually really did draw to the screen. You drew the pixels to the screen, pixel by pixel. It really feels like you're still doing that, but the fact of the matter is we are sending this to your GPU. So Sprite Batch, what Sprite Batch does that's really cool is it lets you as the developer kind of think the old way and just not worry about it. So this Sprite Batch draw call is saying draw the texture at 100 100 on the screen and blend it with the color white, which so you can do blending. Well, the color white is the fullness of color. It's all the color. So what that really means is don't do anything to it.
Oh,
It's like multiplying by 1
gotcha.
for all aspects of the color: red, green, blue, and alpha. If I had put in color black, that would be like turning it off. That'd be multiplying by 0.
Yeah.
So you can do some interesting effects with that, but we don't care about that right now. We just want to run. So once again, this is going to show up on my other screen here. And here we go. He's at position 100, 100. As far as the top right corner goes, so if 100 over, 100 down, top right corner of the texture, there he is. It's not super exciting, though. Because it's
not doing anything.
Yeah, he's not doing anything, right? So for that, we're going to need a little bit of help. And we'll see how much we can do in just a few minutes. I might do some copying and pasting so that you don't just watch me type. There is a vector2 class in XNA that describes a 2D vector. Vectors will become a friend of yours, and I even would say basic trig, which I don't want to scare anybody. I struggled with trig, but in order to accomplish something for the Circus Atari game, I learned a minor piece of trigonometry that I struggled with as a student, but it sure was fun as a game developer. So now I understand it. Now I understand it, right? So I'm setting a couple vectors here. I do not necessarily have to do this in initialize because frankly, if I just set their properties here in the constructor, it would be fine. That's just for people wondering, like, did you have to do that there? So I'm setting the position at that 100, 100 spot, and the velocity is 0. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to update, and I'm going to let's add our first bit of game logic. And once again, I'm going to cut and paste this in and try to explain it very quickly. Every time update runs, we're going to take the clown's position and we're going to add to it a multiplication of the clown velocity vector times the total number of seconds that the game has elapsed. So what we're doing is we're saying velocity is some vector that it's some measurement. It could be moving very fast. It could be moving very slow. That vector could be very large, meaning that it is flying, or it could be very tiny. The reason why we're scaling it by the game time is elapsed game time is the amount of time since the last time update was called. So this is telling me take that velocity vector and scale it by a factor of how much time has gone by. And what that does is that means that no matter how fast your machine is, he should fall at the same rate.
Oh, okay.
The other thing that we need to do is, let's see, but see, I haven't, velocity is 0 right now, right? Velocity is 0. So let's add another piece of code here that says, let's take the clown velocity's y vector and let's add 16 to it. So every frame we're going to add 16. Okay. The only other thing I have to do is we don't want to specify a fixed location anymore. Let's use that clown position vector. Oh, whoops. I got a extraneous. Okay, now the problem is I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull this over quick enough. Because it comes up over here. So that's kind of a bummer. Can
you just do...
I'm trying to think of how to do it.
Put a weight on the initialize.
Yeah, actually,
or
I
at
could
some
do that.
point.
You're right. You're right. I could do that.
Sleep or talking about sleep, yeah.
You're right. That's a good way to do it for now. What we'll do in the future is we're going to have the game start and wait for input. Oh,
Ah,
the problem is that so that didn't do what I wanted because initialize was before the window was shown.
ah.
Um,
So for your update
yeah.
or in your update, I guess.
Let me think.
But then it's gonna
Here,
happen every time you update.
you're right. You're right. So here's what I really want to do. I want to say, here's what we're gonna do. If keyboard dot get state is key down, and I'm gonna look for key being down, the down arrow.
Oh, okay.
And so that way nothing will happen. It's the game will be paused unless I'm pushing the down arrow. That's essentially what I'm doing.
That's the better way to do it.
Well, there really should be like a start. Yeah, I mean, I was just hoping to keep it quick. That's all. Okay,
Oh,
so
I agree.
So the game's going to be frozen. That basically meaning that we could even watch this happen. It's coming to update, and then it's saying, well, let's just skip it, right? It's just skipping. It's not getting in here. We're going to see that it's just not getting in here as I step, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to do that anymore. So now I'll continue. I'll bring this over. Here he is. I'm going to hold the down arrow. Oh, it's clown velocity X, so he took off to the left. Exit stage left, right? That was supposed to be a Y. And then we're going to try and get one more thing done with the time we have remaining. Oh, see, I'm not paying attention very much. So the Y vector, this is subtracting instead of adding. Well, this is good, right?
So it's more negative.
Right, more negative, so it's going up. It just means that what happened was I took the IntelliSense suggestion and didn't stop and think. So there he goes. But he just goes on, and he's still going. He's still going. He's just not anywhere to be drawn. Oh, we didn't get to see it, though. Darn it.
That last one, no.
Yeah, that was my fault, because he showed up on the other screen, and I didn't move it over. So here we go. And my finger's still down. He's still going. He's falling forever and ever. He's at some position, negative, whatever. But there's nothing to show, so it's not. He's at a position where, so we don't need that anymore. What we're going to do instead is we're going to, and yes, this doesn't need to be here in this method. I could go calculate this somewhere else, but just to keep it all in one place, I'm going to quickly calculate what are the max extents of my viewport, and I can ask XNA for these things. I can say, what's the width of the viewport? What's the height? The minimum is 0, the Y is 0. And then I'm going to subtract the clown's width and height, because remember the clown is being placed on the screen right now, today, and the upper left, by its upper left.
Yeah.
So I want to stop whenever it, it reaches the bottom.
You hit the ground?
Yeah. Reaches the bottom of the viewport, basically. So that's why I'm basically saying it can't be any more or less than this. So
right.
I need to detect now if the clown has hit that max Y. So let's say the clown would hit the ground. Okay? Has clown's position exceeded max Y? So just for testing for right now, we're going to have a soft bounce that goes up 90 degrees. And XNA comes with a math helper that takes degrees and converts them to radians for you. That's kind of nice. So I'm basically saying, and this is the trigonometric part I was talking about, I'm basically figuring out a vector that is 90, that points up 90 degrees. That's what I'm figuring out here. And I learned a little bit of trig to do this using sine and cosine. The 515 is what we game developers call, I played with the number until I was happy with the bounce. That's literally it. That's literally it. There's no, notice, for example, this clown velocity is not like, I'm not calculating actual gravity, like 9.8 meters per second squared or something.
Right.
Not that that's not valuable in a game. It's just that sometimes your game world actually responds differently. And so what's happening here is he's falling, and then I am taking the velocity when he hits the ground, and I'm saying, look, whatever your velocity was when you hit, reverse that vector.
Sure.
So now that basically instantly bounces him up like he's hit a trampoline, essentially.
Right.
But
Elastic.
yeah, but then every frame I'm dragging him back down again because his
Gravity's
velocity is
still-
increasing. So this only fires when he hits the ground. That's the only time it fires. And what it does is it basically flips his velocity. And so this is the beginning of like building a toy. What we'll do in future installments is we will actually put a trampoline under him. When he hits the trampoline, he will fly off in different directions, and then we'll try to catch him. And once we kind of build the toy, then the game sort of builds itself from there. But this is just the very beginning. And you know, if I change that 515 number, then he'll bounce a little higher. If I make it larger, if I make it smaller, he'll bounce hardly at all. It's just something that you play with until it feels right in a 2D game like this. And that's it. That's it for at least getting started. Like, obviously, we haven't done much, but maybe it's inspiring to be like, look, that really wasn't that much. And I would like to believe that what we've done here is pretty straightforward. Like, there's no black magic here. You might...
No.
Maybe if you're totally unfamiliar with vectors and velocity, I actually have a helper that I like to apply for demos where the velocity vector is displayed right next to the clown.
Yeah.
So you can see how it's changing and how it's growing and shrinking.
That'd be cool to see for have, you know, almost like a debugging mechanism of doing something like that, right? To kind of help that out.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing is it's really easy to get started. There's some awesome helper methods to do this kind of, you know, physics component to an image. And, you know, from there, it's your imagination to see what situation you put them in.
Yeah. Like, we haven't done animation yet. We haven't done, there's so much that can be done. But, you know, it's pretty, what I think made XNA pretty popular was just how straightforward the process really was. If you were a game developer, this just was all super easy. It speaks to you right away. And then if you weren't, it was okay. It was fine. Whatever. Draw. I can figure out what that means. So that's MonoGame. It's near and dear to many people's hearts, including my own. It brings back a lot of nostalgia of this wonderful time when we could make, you can still create your own games on the Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles using Xbox Dev Mode.
Okay.
My belief is that is going to evolve, but there's been no announcements. And even as I say that, I want to make it clear, it is my belief. No one has told me anything, because I couldn't share it with you if anybody told me. So it's just my belief that stuff will evolve. And here's why. That stuff's based on UWP, which made sense at the Xbox One time frame.
Sure.
But I think we would all say nowadays that it would need to evolve to something else, I think. So that's, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Just based on everything we're seeing in the Xbox space, where games work everywhere on PCs, they work on handhelds, they work on cloud, which is just really exciting. That's why I think there might be some changes there. But still, hey, MonoGame is a great starter. And here's the difference between MonoGame, Unity, and Godot. Not that I don't want to do some Unity and Godot stuff on this channel. Those, you end up in like these sort of like command decks where you have an IDE of its own to manage your Godot assets, your scenes, your scripting, your Unity scenes, your scripting, your assets, and all the things that Unity does. MonoGame is more like it's the programmer's framework, where you spend most of your time coding, but you also don't get an engine.
Okay.
That could be good. And it can also be like, well, now you got to do a lot of stuff yourself. But what I think you'll see with this game is, like, once you kind of build the toy, the engine is built. This isn't, we're not building a 3D game. We're not building a game where I want this complicated physics library or anything. Like, it just works. So, but yeah, that's it. I know we're at 8:34, so. Gotta get
All
going.
good. That's awesome. Awesome intro to some of the cool things you're gonna be doing, and the capabilities that you can actually go ahead and get out there and do. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are games that have shipped with MonoGame for Xbox, for other consoles, for PC. Um, I don't. I'm hesitating to name names because I don't want to be wrong, but you can find them on the MonoGame website, and I'm not. We're talking about successful games, so it's not nothing. So,
True.
all right. Well, hey,
Cool.
I guess we got to get going. So, thank you
Yeah,
everybody for joining us, and thank you, Rich.
definitely. Yeah, no, that's fun. Looking forward to seeing what we can build and see what kind of things we can start to bring into that world. So
Yeah,
it,
yeah. I'm
it'll be fun.
I'm resurrecting some of my old demos now. I'm trying to get them all working in MonoGame. So, all right.
Awesome.
Well, hey everybody. Hope that you all had a good time. If you have any questions, add them in the comments below. I will add some links to MonoGame in the show notes. And for Rich, I'm Chris, and we will see you all next time on the Dev Talk Show.